Live from the station taking action for you, this is ABC Action News.
Now at 5, here's a live look at Jacksonville Pier on Florida's East Coast, taking a beating from the brunt of Hurricane Matthew's fury. And the major storm not done with Florida just yet. As we come on the air, at least 3 Floridians are dead and more than 1 million are without power, with Matthew continuing its trek up the East Coast. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jameson Euler.
And I'm Laura Harrison for Wendy Ryan tonight. I want you to look at this. The storm surge here in this video, you can see this is a bed and breakfast right here in St. Augustine, and you see all of that water trapping at least 20 people inside, including children. Some watches and warnings still in effect around that area, but all the ones that were here in Tampa Bay have now expired. Yeah, you've counted on us since the beginning here to cover you on every angle of Matthew's path. Our live teams are on Florida's East Coast and as far north as Jacksonville. Right now checking damage reports and recovery efforts as well. But we begin with Chief Meteorologist Dennis Phillips. Dennis, where is that eye now?
Well, Laura, it looks as though it's just east-southeast of Jacksonville, well offshore, at least for the time being. This has been an amazing track for Matthew because it's moved up the entire eastern side of Florida. The eye usually about 10 or 15 miles just to the east of the coast. And that has been amazing because literally, and we've been saying this now for a couple of days, you pick this storm up and you move it 25 miles, just 25 miles to the west. You have 100-mile-an-hour winds along the entire east coast of Florida. The bigger issue right now, and we just touched on that, is the water. While it is still a powerful hurricane, it's large in terms of its size. So regardless of whether the winds drop down or not, it is still going to push a lot of water. It's already done so around St. Augustine and Daytona. It's doing so right now in Jacksonville as well. And this storm continues to move right up the southeast, and areas from Savannah to Charleston over the next 24 hours are going to see serious surge issues and a lot of wind. Now, here is the good news. Matthew is no longer a major hurricane. Last advisory now just came out, winds of 110 miles an hour, so that brings it to a Category 2 hurricane moving north at 12 miles an hour. And the eventual track, now it is something we can at least talk about now that it has passed our area. Eventually, we do believe it is going to loop back into the Gulf. We do not believe, or rather the Atlantic, potentially even the Gulf, but we do not believe it is going to redevelop into any significant systems at this time. But right now, it is still one whale of a storm, and most of the fury right now is going on around Jacksonville. And our Maricela Burgos is live in Jacksonville, where not only do you have the wind, but you've got the water, and it is definitely rising. Maricela, how you doing out there?
We have both of what you're mentioning, right? You hear the wind. I'm going to put the mic out so you can hear what I'm hearing. I hope the mic caught that. And then also you have the water. So this is the St. Johns River, and it is flooding this part here, this pavilion. And so we expect the water to continue to rise. Authorities tell us that along the coast, they're expecting 6 to 10 inches of rain. And then inland, where we are, 4 to 6 inches. There's a flood warning until 8:30 p.m. And downtown, right now, there are parts of it that have evacuated. So there aren't any people downtown. Over here by one of these bridges, popular place, I assume, Friday night, and it is deserted. Nobody here. So we're already starting to feel the impact of the wind here and the impact of Hurricane Matthew. The wind is picking up and a lot of water rising. So there are several bridges that have closed, beach bridges, as well as several other bridges, and those bridges likely will not reopen until tomorrow. Reporting live, Maricela Burgos, ABC Action News.
Maricela, thank you. We've got another live look at the Jacksonville Pier, where part of that pier washed away in this storm. You see the surf still kicking up there. Unfortunately, we're hearing of 3 deaths attributed to Hurricane Matthew. 2 were medical conditions in St. Lucie County. Rescuers couldn't reach those people because of the high winds. And late today, we learned a tree fell on a woman who was outside trying to feed her animals in Volusia County.
Well, take a look at this. Those howling winds topping 100 miles per hour, scattering debris across Daytona Beach's empty roads. They're also blamed for several collapsed roofs and damaged buildings there. Our Jake Peterson joins us from Daytona with a check of the damage.
The rain is starting to stop, but the wind is still intense here, and they are starting to let people back onto the island slowly but surely. And when people come back, they will see damage. It might be something minor, just like some debris on the ground right here, which we see at this hotel, or it could be something major like this motel, this beach motel across the street, which has some definite major damage. The awning ripped right off there at that motel right here off of Atlantic Avenue here in Daytona Beach. Now, so this is some of the worst we've seen so far. But again, there's also damage about 2 miles in the neighborhoods, 2 miles away from here in the neighborhoods in Daytona. Now, and there's some intense damage there. We saw a roof over a gas pump crash to the ground, trees hitting home, and simply debris everywhere. Every business within 10 miles of here is closed, but we did meet one gas station owner who decided he was going to stay open even as Matthew was on top of us. 90-mile-per-hour winds at some points, but he says surprisingly he had a few customers.
I told them don't come outside, but they want to come outside to get a chips, sodas, and everything. So everybody come, I told them don't come back and stay home, but they keep on coming.
Again, we are starting to see some people trickle in, but really, I don't think most of the people will come until the morning because they do have an evacuation order still in place until 7 a.m. and county officials really don't want people here until that point. But as you can see, the cleanup here from Matthew will take days and weeks from now. Reporting in Daytona Beach, Jake Peterson, ABC Action News.
Jake, thank you. And I want you to come to your screen and look at this. Power lines exploding on Merritt Island overnight like fireworks in the wind and rain. The woman who tweeted this video out, she lost power just after it happened, but she and her family thankfully are safe. And here's an updated check on power outages across the state. More than 1 million people in Florida right now without power. Most of them are Florida Power and Light customers. They're in the dark right now. Yesterday we told you crews were worried millions could be without power, but it's because of the preparations from power crews just like these that many still have their lights on. FHP posting this video, you see it right there, of a small army of utility trucks going through, making their way down the highway. And of our Bay Area counties, quite a few Duke Energy customers in Pinellas County right now don't have power. What they're showing us here on this map is just basically multiple outages. They don't have complete numbers. They do say that you can check for Hurricane Matthew alerts, and they said that they're doing the best they can to restore this power. About 650 people at last check. Jameson?
Our team of reporters fanned out from Jacksonville to Daytona Beach and as far south as West Palm Beach. One big impact many of those places will see is beach erosion. Indian River County officials say they'll likely lose millions of pounds of sand because of this storm. But as our Adam Weiner shows us, beach erosion is just one problem there.
We've been all through Vero Beach. We're right off of Indian River Boulevard right now, and you can see some of what we've been seeing all over town. Some palm trees literally snapped in half here at this intersection, and we are seeing debris all over this area. Trees blocking roads, a lot of palm leaves in the roadways as well. In one case, an entire apartment building was inaccessible. We saw a public sign blown right off and crashed into a parking lot. And of course, there's also been a lot of power outages. We've seen state troopers and police officers directing traffic along US 1 intersections, and we've been talking to residents about the challenges they faced as well.
How is everybody doing here without electricity right now?
It's hot.
Yeah. Sticky, gross.
Open my windows, but all I get is hot air.
That was our Adam Weiner reporting. Here in the Tampa Bay area, no serious damage in Polk County, even though it was under threat of tropical storm force winds. The only reported damage, this what you're seeing right there, they're now trying to clean it up. A large tree falling and blocking Blake Avenue in Auburndale. The homeowners watched 2 of their cars take direct hits.
It happened at 2 this morning, and it was loud, and I ran outside. I could see it was bad, but you know, I could see that part right there was still up there, and I was afraid it would go over on the house. But we're lucky it didn't.
Had to be scary there. Polk officials tell us the strongest wind gust recorded overnight were 40 miles per hour. Highlands County was also under the threat of tropical storm force winds, but did not report any serious damage.
An incredibly important reminder for anyone thinking about heading out to the beach this weekend. These double red flags you see right there are flying on Clearwater Beach right now, and that means no swimming. Authorities tell us the strong winds and high waves make that water just a little too dangerous. Laura?
And you can count on us to cover every angle of Matthew's aftermath. Head to this special section of our website right now, abcactionnews.com. You have everything you need to know right there. Updates, power outages, closures, and the cleanup after this monster storm.
As we head to break, a look at some more damage. A Krabby Bill's restaurant will now have to replace their restaurant sign, it looks like there. And now take a live look at this camera from Jacksonville. You can barely see anything out there because of all the clouds and the rain from Hurricane Matthew. Stay with us. We'll show you how the hard-hit St. Augustine area is holding up right now.
Well, right now, as we continue to cover Hurricane Matthew, take a live look at Ormond Beach. This is just south of Jacksonville. Just a moment ago, surprisingly, we saw some people walking on the beach there. And, you know, Hurricane Matthew will likely cause millions of dollars in damage.
Yeah, and that will mean some homeowners will have to pay some big bucks even before their insurance kicks in. Our Jackie Calloway has been talking to the insurance experts about what that can mean for us here in the Bay Area. Jackie?
You know, this can be confusing, especially because the hurricane's not in our area. Experts say different insurance companies handle claims differently, but in general, if a hurricane watch or warning has been issued in the area where the damage is located, hurricane deductibles will kick in, even if the eye of the storm never makes it to shore. So wind strength and your proximity to the storm will affect whether a claim or a wind-related claim will be considered an isolated event or a hurricane claim. Now, here in Florida, most deductibles are 2%. Or the first $2,000 in claims on a $100,000 home. Some policies can be even 5 or 10% deductibles. Deductibles were adopted after Hurricane Andrew in '92. It's a way to keep home insurance companies from leaving the state. 7 of the 10 costliest hurricanes in U.S. history have impacted our state, causing $68 billion in losses. 6 of those hurricanes hit Florida in 2004 and 2005. After that, deductibles were capped at 1 per homeowner per calendar year. Even if you get minor damage, the Insurance Information Institute says you should notify your insurance carrier properly or promptly, since sometimes damage can be worse than it initially appears. Now, the Insurance Information Institute also encourages homeowners to take an inventory of your home using a camera or a smartphone before a storm hits. And you can find a link to their free app at abcactionnews.com. I'm my team investigator, Jackie Calloway, taking action for you.
How you doing, everybody? Looking outside, obviously that's still pretty gusty wind out there. There's Rivergate Tower, a lot of clouds out there. But as we've been saying, and we've been saying this for the last couple of days, we really kind of figured west of I-75 we weren't going to have too much to worry about. East of I-75 is where the winds were. And in spite of the fact that the center of the storm stayed offshore, look at these wind gusts. Cape Canaveral had 107-mile-an-hour wind gusts this morning. Patrick Air Force Base, 88. So you can see, while this was at least 10 to 15 miles offshore the center, and that's where the bulk of the wind was, just imagine if that had been about 15 or 20 miles to the west. That's it. It would have been night and day in terms of it. So we were very, very fortunate across our area, and for that matter, across the state, even though we continue to show the surge issues in St. Augustine, the flooding and surge issues in Daytona, along with the wind, of course. And in Jacksonville, obviously, they're still getting wind and rain, as Maricela mentioned just a couple of minutes ago. Let's go ahead and take this full here. There's a look at Titan Doppler radar, and you can see showers continue across the area. As we note, the heaviest rains are now north of the area, and they are going to stay that way. I want to take a look up north and off to the northeast. There is your center. There is your eye of what is no longer a major hurricane. Last advisory just came out. Matthew is a Category 2 hurricane. There is a tornado watch in effect for the coastal areas of the Carolinas. This is still going to be a big issue for areas from Savannah, which Savannah is very much like St. Augustine, just a beautiful old city, a lot of giant trees, and one that really hasn't been hit very often by hurricanes. And into Charleston. Well, Charleston has been hit by a major hurricane. A lot of folks remember Hugo back in the day, barreled into Charleston as one of the heaviest and strongest hurricanes ever to go into South Carolina. So there's the closest look. There's your eye, and it is now moving to the north. So because of that, this is why we expect later tonight into tomorrow, coastal areas of Georgia from Savannah right on over to South Carolina going to be in the crosshairs of this storm over the next 24 hours or so. So there's the latest from the Hurricane Center. Winds of 110 miles an hour. The pressure coming up meaning it's weakening slowly, north winds at 12 miles an hour. And for us, believe it or not, it's going to help usher in some of the coolest weather we have seen since last spring by early next week. So something to look forward to in our 7-day forecast, which we'll touch on in just a minute. Now, here's the track. And if you've been watching the last couple of days, I said I just wasn't even going to talk about what could happen down the road. There was a lot of buzz, a lot of hype of, oh, this is going to turn into another hurricane and come back into Florida. It's not going to happen. Is it going to loop? Probably. But whatever's out there should weaken significantly. You never say never in the tropics, but I'm telling you, this will not be a major issue, at least over the next 5 days. And if something unexpected were to happen, we'll address it at that point in time. Let's get through the Carolinas, let's get through Georgia, and then we'll worry, or at least talk about what's going on out in the Atlantic, which, again, I just don't think is going to pose a threat. For the time being, there's a big enough threat around Jacksonville, as you see there with the latest track. Now, spaghetti models, there we go. A lot of agreement up through the Charleston area. And then all of a sudden, look what happens after that. A lot of different possibilities. I mean, yes, the majority do bring this back, but when they do so, it should be weakening. So that's all we have to say for right this second about what is still a powerful storm as it pulls away. But let's talk about how it impacts our weekend forecast so we can make our weekend plans. Because this is such a strong system, and there's a trough coming in from the northwest, it's going to help to usher in some very dry conditions for us starting tomorrow. And then by later on, we're not talking just dry, we're talking cool by Monday night, Tuesday morning. Here's a look at temperatures across the area. Obviously, lots of clouds today, breezy all day long with temperatures in the upper 70s to the lower 80s. Here's a look at Futurecast. Still enough moisture on the backside that's going to swing westerly winds around the area, so you cannot rule out a few more showers. Breezy weather right through tonight and into tomorrow with an isolated shower. Tomorrow it will dry out noticeably, maybe a 10% chance of a sprinkle. That's it. And outside of that, Saturday looks to be a very nice day, and Sunday and Monday look to be some of the nicest weather we have seen since probably April of earlier this year. So we've got some very nice weather in store. Look at Sunday, hardly a cloud in the sky and pleasant conditions. Now, if you are thinking of taking the boat out tomorrow, small craft advisories are now in effect. All other watches and warnings have been dropped locally. Northeast winds at 15 knots, seas 4 to 7 feet, so still a bit rough out there. Moderate chop out on the bay, water temperature 85 degrees. So look at your hour-by-hour forecast. Tonight, partly cloudy skies. Nothing more than a few stray showers, with temperatures staying in the upper 70s. All right, here it is. Florida's most accurate 7-day forecast. A few showers possible tomorrow. We're still going to be warm, mid to upper 80s. But look at Monday morning. A low of 67 in Tampa, a high of 83. And I think there's an outside chance some of our northern counties could see upper 50s on Monday morning. Citrus County, Sumter County. And then by the middle of next week, we're back staying in the mid-80s and morning lows begin to bump up. But again, focusing on the positive, this weekend will be beautiful. Lots of sunshine, pleasant, with temperatures lower and humidity even lower than that.
All right, thank you, Dennis. As we take you to break, we're getting a brand new look at damage on Florida's East Coast. A man named Andy Ives there watching in disbelief as that tree falls across a road in Fleming Island.
Right now, as we continue to cover Hurricane Matthew, I want you to take a live look at Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You see the surf is still kicking up there and people still walking along the streets there right next to the ocean. It's hard to believe that people are still doing that, considering the communities on the East Coast are still bracing for Matthew's impact. In the meantime, we're getting a better sense of the devastation in Haiti after Matthew made landfall there Tuesday. New video, just shocking, showing people walking through this murky water, trying to get to safety, that water filling the streets.
Yeah, various government agencies and aid groups are reporting different numbers. Now, the highest coming from Reuters, who says the number of dead has climbed to more than 800. Authorities fear there could be hundreds more bodies that haven't even been counted yet. We're told many of the victims died from falling debris earlier this week, and those who survived but were hurt are dealing with a new hurdle. Only 9 of the island's 15 biggest hospitals are open right now.
And as for the Bahamas, scenes like these over my shoulder there, so many people still dealing with that. Mostly done, but Matthew has moved on. There's still a lot of damage in that area and the flooding, not to mention ruined vacations. Reporter Charlie Keegan shows us the risk still remaining tonight.
The doors are still boarded up at our hotel. Crews are outside right now cleaning up any debris. They say it's not safe for us to go outside quite yet. A lot of tree branches fell down, among other things. We saw some railings from balconies that fell off during Hurricane Matthew. So we're actually staying on Paradise Island, which is just outside of Nassau. We see downtown is flooded, and locals tell me that is a almost normal occurrence. One of the most dramatic videos is this one of a roof blowing off a house. I've shared this on Twitter, and it's been retweeted dozens of times. We've also learned today that the U.S. Coast Guard is in the Bahamas helping deliver medical and rescue supplies. And of course, as soon as these doors open, we will be going out there, getting a look at the damage with our own eyes, and we'll bring you all the latest. From the Bahamas, I'm Charlie Keegan.
And back here in Florida, more proof tonight why those evacuation orders are so serious. This is heavy damage to a marina at New Smyrna Beach. This building that houses boats now full of holes. Stay with us. Dennis is fine-tuning his track on Matthew and will show us when Florida will finally be out of the woods.
Right now at 5:30, we are totaling up the damage tonight from Hurricane Matthew here in Florida as bands of rain continue to pummel the northeast corner.
You're looking live at Jacksonville right now, where more than 1 million people are still without power in Florida. Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Harris.
Hello, I'm Paul LeGrone. A new video coming in right now to our newsroom by the minute. This is a look here in Jacksonville Beach, where water is rushing into the streets and surrounding homes.
And in Daytona, this murky water coming up to the walkways of hotels during storm surges today. That water full of debris and garbage.
All right, we'll check in live on conditions in Daytona in just a moment. But first, meteorologist Dennis Phillips tonight showing you just how much longer Hurricane Matthew will punish Florida.
Yeah, Paul, I mean, things are definitely trying to wind down, especially across our area. But in spite of the fact that we will be showing you video and talk about things that were bad, I think we all know it could have been a lot worse. And just how close it was to being a lot worse. The center of the storm was on average about 10 to 15 miles just to the east of the coastline. And at some time, it was about 5 miles. All it would have taken is a little wobble to the left to bring those 110, 120, 130 mile an hour winds into the coastal areas. It never happened. And we were so fortunate for that happening, but we were still 15, 20 miles away from the center of a major hurricane, and that brought winds of over 100 miles an hour to areas from the Cape off to the north. But still, this has packing a punch. It's still heading directly north. Eventually, Savannah and Charleston are going to have to be dealing with this over the next 24 hours. Good news, it has weakened a little bit more, not a ton, but it has dropped a category. 110 means it's a Category 2 hurricane moving due north at 12 miles an hour. And here's the forecast track, again, staying offshore. So it's possible that this storm may never even make landfall in the United States. I mean, the models are hinting that it might, but it came awfully close. And one of the spots where it was closest was Daytona Beach, Florida. And our Ryan Smith is live there, where Daytona not only had to deal with the wind, but the water earlier on today. Ryan, you out there? You hear us?
Hey guys, yeah, we're right here along Main Street in Daytona Beach, and I want to show you just a slice of what this damage and all these high winds have done. This is the downtown Daytona Beach U.S. Post Office. Take a look at this damage. I mean, it is severe, and I can tell you, going a few blocks in either direction, you're going to see businesses damaged just like this. The wind so severe at one point today from Hurricane Matthew. Look at this flag up here, just above the post office. Look how tattered that is. And we do want to mention a few other things here in Volusia County. The big concern tonight, downed power lines. 240,000 people without power. That's half of the county's population. The strongest winds reaching upwards of 70 miles per hour today. That happening around the noon hour, I'm told. Hurricane Matthew skirting the coastline in Daytona Beach around noon. Law enforcement urging people still at this hour to stay inside. They believe it is too dangerous with all of the debris scattered across the county and, of course, those downed power lines. About 4,000 people remain in county shelters. And emergency management officials telling me tonight that with those 4,000 people in county shelters, they hope that they stay overnight tonight even. They don't want them going back into their homes or in their cars or driving around really at least until tomorrow, because they still have a lot of work to do to get damage assessment and safety precautions done here in Volusia County. That's a look here. We're going to send it up north a couple of counties to St. Augustine, where my colleague Isabel Rosella has the story there.
St. Augustine is definitely not the place to be. Conditions worsening by the minute. Many areas around the downtown reaching water levels far above what we're seeing here. Now, despite these dangerous conditions, some folks still refusing to leave. Joe Tringali spent the night looking over his 25-year-old store. At his side, his trusted companion, Sherman. But as he kept watch, other St. Augustine families packed up and left town. Joe ignored St. Augustine's mandatory evacuation.
It's just such a ghost town. I'm amazed at how, law enforcement came by and told me if I was going to leave now.
Despite being warned this hurricane could kill, Joe says he's waiting it out until the last moment. The rain and wind a priority behind his business.
I'm concerned that we're going to flood pretty well inside this store.
But during our interview, the water flooded the street in front of his store. Joe said he knew the moment had come. He took Old Sherman and headed south. Just down the street, I found these guys, hard to miss, wearing beach shorts in the middle of a Category 3 hurricane. They say they're not leaving.
I just watch the house. People go out and loot in these situations.
They don't fear for their safety, but are watching Matthew's track with a close eye.
If it gets too nasty, I'm sure we'll take off, but it's going to have to get a lot worse than this.
For now, they plan to dry off inside and stick this hurricane out. Now, the ones staying tell me they are hunkering down. They will risk all of this flooding, but they tell me what they won't risk are the road conditions right now. In St. Augustine, Isabel Rosales, ABC Action News.
All right, let me show you the trail of damage from Hurricane Matthew so far. Take a look at this. This is a picture just coming into us from Jacksonville. You see this gasoline canopy just toppled right over because of the winds. This is roof damage in Rockledge. That's near Merritt Island. Take a look at this. This is another gasoline canopy. This is on Merritt Island. It just ripped to shreds, the winds there. And one more view here. This is actually video. This is a power line just exploding overnight as Matthew is passing by. That is the view from the ground. Here's the view today from the air.
First, the good news. This aerial footage proves Palm Beach County escaped the worst of Hurricane Matthew. What you don't see is just as important as what you do see. No major flooding, no toppled trees, docks intact, homes intact.
Yep, there's some damage there.
But the further up north you go, the more damage you encounter. This boat knocked over in Fort Pierce.
And again, you have a little bit of damage here from the wind to the sign, to the old Kmart that's been here.
The wind ripping off signs.
Looks like that one got turned around a little bit there.
And at the airport in Fort Pierce, Matthew moved planes around like chess pieces.
There you go. That's how you should feel coming out and having your house intact.
But in South Florida tonight, there is reason to do the happy dance. They have their homes. They have their health. The shutters will soon come off. And tomorrow, they will look to their neighbors to the north in Jacksonville and say, we wish this could have happened to you.
Tale of two areas tonight. Right now, it's not safe to fly in Daytona and Jacksonville, given the conditions there at this hour. But the images we will start to get tomorrow from the air will likely be in very stark contrast to what we've seen so far. Laura.
And in situations like these, many of you are asking, how can I help the victims of the storm? Well, the Red Cross says it could use your donations right now. You can send them $10 by texting the word Matthew to the number 90999. Now, don't forget, hard-hit Haiti needs your help as well. If you want to give, consider donating items to groups like UNICEF and CARE. And another way you can help your local community, maybe offer up your home. I want you to check out Airbnb right now. They've activated their urgent accommodations. Basically, you can go on here and see all of these different places to stay, many of them in the Tampa Bay area right now, offering up their spare bedrooms, maybe their couches, some their entire house, and it's all absolutely free. Paul?
Well, as Florida continues to grapple with Hurricane Matthew tonight, other East Coast states are bracing for rain and flooding. The governor ordering about 500,000 mandatory evacuations in southeastern Georgia. About 100,000 others also being encouraged to board up and get out. Parts of South Carolina tonight also issuing curfews. And tonight, anyone who absolutely does not have to be out on the roads is encouraged and told not to drive. Officials stressing just how urgent and dangerous it is, and people should protect themselves.
If you choose to stay, you will most likely be on your own for a minimum of 24 hours, possibly up to 3 days. If you have an emergency situation, again, there will be no one available to assist you.
And take a look at this. This is I-16 eastbound in Georgia shut down. That is the interstate leading to the shore, and it's to make absolutely certain that no one heads toward the danger rather than away from it. Now, if you've got family in the danger zone and you're worried, don't forget you can track Matthew 24/7 through our Storm Shield app. It has live radar and severe weather alerts, so you can stay informed and protected.
Well, before we go to break, some amazing pictures giving us a sense of how bad the flooding in St. Augustine is right now. Check that out. Virtually no roads. You can't even tell that that's a road or a street. They're all full of dark, murky water. And we've got a live look right now at Jacksonville. The rain still falling so much it's tough to even make out what we're looking at there. We do know it's Jacksonville, but aside of that, it's hard to tell. We'll show you the impact the storm on the other side of Florida is having on businesses here in Tampa Bay.
More than 2,000 complaints of price gouging. Coming up, we're going to show you where it's happening and what the state is doing about it.
All right, breaking news just into our newsroom. News of another hurricane-related death from Matthew. The ABC station in Jacksonville, as you take a live look here in Jacksonville, reporting that a Putnam County woman is dead tonight after a tree fell on her trailer. We are working right now to get more details, but this would be the fourth storm-related death in Florida. Meanwhile, Hurricane Matthew also it means more people here in the Bay Area. It's affecting us as well.
Yeah, from those trying to take flights out of Tampa International Airport after other major airports in the state ceased operations, to others taking shelters at area hotels.
Our Serena Fazan tonight continuing our team coverage with the hurricane's impact here at home. Serena.
That's right, guys. You know, we're standing right in front of the Epicurean Hotel from South Tampa all the way to the beach. There are many hotels that are booked. You guys also mentioned Tampa International Airport. We stopped by there today. We found many people just trying to catch a flight to get home. The bottom line, though, everybody we talked to here just happy to be out of the storm's path.
There it goes.
A man just living minutes away from Jerry and Kay Agresti took this video of a tree falling. He decided to ride out the storm.
They say evacuate. We evacuate.
The couple would never take the chance of staying at their home on the St. Johns River.
The dock and the boat, I don't expect to see that when I get back.
Past experience also told them to get out of Dodge earlier rather than later. The last time they evacuated.
And it took us 10 hours to go 70 miles to the west. So this time we left early.
They've been here since Wednesday, joining thousands of others heading to Tampa.
It was crazy.
Tom Agnati's entire family just left Orlando after their flight got canceled. Luckily, they can get out of TIA, but the family knew the risks before heading to Florida a week ago. They saved thousands for a first-time vacation to Disney.
It was one of those deals that do we cancel the trip and lose our money because we didn't purchase any vacation insurance, or do we take the risk and hope that everything works out with a hurricane?
Rory McKay's flight canceled out of Orlando, too. He and his family have a bit farther to go. They live in New Zealand. Now it'll take nearly twice as long to get home.
It's a bit of a hassle, but a bit more flying and we get to see 2 more cities of the USA.
The Agrestis feel the hassle is a small price to pay. It's not worth messing with Mother Nature.
I just hope we have a home, okay? But that's okay. So there is anxiety with what's going on because it's just below Daytona.
It'll be fine.
I know, but there is, you know. How can there not be? But we're safe. And many people telling me today that actually safety is overriding cost and they will stay put until they know it's safe to go home. Reporting live in Tampa, I'm Serena Fazan, ABC Action News.
Thanks, Serena. Yeah, I'll tell you, this was a close call for the East Coast, and we're still already talking about the damage. And unfortunately, there have been fatalities. On the west side of the state, we're still looking at a lot of clouds out there. But if you've been watching us and following us on Facebook, kind of figured west of I-75. That was sort of the border that we were saying. You go west of I-75, we weren't going to have much of a problem. East of I-75, some heavier winds, eastern Polk County, and obviously over on the east side of the state. But still, considered what it could have been, we were extremely fortunate because, as we said, all of the wind and the rain, the heaviest of which, right around the eye, stayed just offshore. Let's go ahead and take this full here. I want to take a closer look at what's going on across the entire area. You look up toward Jacksonville. We've had reporters all over the place, from St. Augustine to Daytona, and over, for that matter, right on down to Vero Beach. Ryan Raish and I were going live back and forth right on through the overnight hours as they were getting some bands, because it's what the storm did. It literally went right up the eastern seaboard. And what was crazy about that is it was never really more than about 10 or 15 miles east of the state of Florida. But what's odd is our state does not go perfectly north and south. I mean, it's jagged. There's things that stick out and ways that go in. And yet, for some reason, it stayed just to the east, keeping those 120, 130, 140 mile an hour winds just to the east of Florida. Now, as we showed you, we still had some gusts over 100 miles an hour. Cape Canaveral had a gust of 108. So it was definitely nasty out there. Still continues, for that matter, east of Jacksonville. And the problem now is that it's just pushing all this water out ahead of it because it has not made landfall yet. And you know what? It might not. The models in the Hurricane Center continue to hint that it's going to be a very close call for Charleston and Savannah. But officially, the Hurricane Center is actually still keeping this storm offshore. So it may go through this entire process of over 1 million people without power and all the damage that we showed, the flooding in St. Augustine, and never actually make landfall in the United States. The only spots would have been Haiti and eastern Cuba. So right now, winds of 110. It's still Category 2 hurricane now. No longer Category 3, dropped down. There's the projected path. Now, the last couple of days, we weren't even going to spend any time talking about the long-range track. We had bigger fish to fry. We had to get this through the east side of the state first. Now we're getting there, and what's going to happen is it does look like there will be a loop back. But when it does, it's going to run into a lot of hostile environment. I don't believe it's going to have an opportunity to strengthen further. We always say you never say never in the tropics, but this looks very good in terms of going down into the Atlantic and probably just fizzling out. But for the next 24 hours, this is still a powerful storm, still a hurricane, Category 2. And look how close, yet again, look at Charleston. The models are pretty much right on. This is insane. I mean, we're not just talking about a north straight line path. Now we're talking about a curve, and a curve that still might take it 5 miles from the coast of Charleston, South Carolina. And Charleston has a history with Hurricane Hugo back in the late 80s. And then it starts that turn and probably begins to weaken. Tampa right now, 81 degrees, lots of clouds across our area. Let's talk about our weekend plans, right? Because the weather is going to be stellar. We have got some tremendous weather in store for the area. Temperatures right now in the low 80s. Tomorrow we're going to be back in the mid 80s, and same thing on Sunday. The difference? Well, by tomorrow, this rain is going to be gone, because as Matthew pulls away, it's going to take the moisture along with it. So waking up Saturday morning to partly sunny skies, dry conditions. I mean, maybe we'll see a quick shower, especially north and east, but I really think that's probably near maybe a 5% chance. And then by Saturday night into Sunday, we dry out even more so. And then on the backside of Matthew, it's going to help to draw down the coolest weather we have seen in a long time. Now, Tampa, Monday morning, mid to upper 60s. Citrus County, under clear skies, you could see upper 50s on Monday morning. Something to look forward to big time. And this ain't too shabby either, with highs in the mid 80s right on through the area Saturday and again on Sunday with lower humidity. Now, taking the boat out on Saturday, not the best idea. It's still going to be rather rough. Small craft advisories. I think Sunday, definitely the better of the 2 days. There are your upcoming tides. 7:27 your sunrise, 7:08 your sunset. Hour by hour forecast, partly cloudy to clear by tomorrow morning. Temperatures upper 70s, but a look at Florida's most accurate 7-day forecast looks a heck of a lot better. Breezy on Saturday. We go 87, 88 on Sunday, but sunny, dry, and lower humidity. Even nicer on Monday morning. By the middle of next week, a little more moisture with a 20% chance of a couple of showers by then.
All right, thanks, Dennis. Well, some wild pictures to bring out of iconic A1A. Parts of the waterfront road just washing away. Take a look at that. A1A in Flagler County is what we're looking at here. Once the waves died down, this is what you could see. Look at the road completely gone there, just collapsed. Well, stay with us. We'll take you live once again to Jacksonville, getting the brunt of Matthew's wrath right now. Continuing to track Matthew right here at ABC Action News. Those in Georgia now starting to feel the impact. This is a live look at the DeSoto Beach Hotel on Tybee Island. Multiple reports say people in the area refusing to evacuate.
All right, meanwhile, tonight, Florida's most popular theme parks, they are planning to reopen tomorrow. Disney plans to be back open at 8 o'clock Saturday morning. Its resorts and restaurants never closed. Universal Orlando and Legoland also scheduled to open up again. All three parks shut down for today out of an abundance of caution.
Now here's a look at what's happening at 6.
I'm Maricela Burgos in Jacksonville, where they are starting to feel the impact of Hurricane Matthew. We will have the latest on the conditions out here.
More than 2,000 complaints of price gouging. Coming up, we're going to show you where it's happening and what the state is doing about it.
More than 100 Tampa Bay first responders are here at the Lakeland Center ready to help. And because Matthew didn't pack a punch here in Polk, they may be heading northeast. The latest coming up at 6.